Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm super hyped to make you this video. If you don't know, there's a game called Pokemon Infinite Fusion. It is, I don't know if it's a mod or if it's a fan game essentially, where it's Pokemon. I believe it's based on Pokemon Red and Blue. That allows you to pretty much just fuse Pokemon together. It is around the first 4 or 5 generations of Pokemon. And it has lots of really cool things. Pretty much, you just fuse them together. Of course, their stats change and their abilities change on the video game. I'm not interested in that as I'm a TCG player, but the arts are super awesome, and the idea is super awesome. So you can check down below in the description. There's an Infinite Fusion calculator, which will allow you to mess around with it yourself. Some of them are generated, like people have made them themselves, and they look super sick. I've included some of them, of course, in this, but there are so many more. They're so awesome. And then also there are some that are automatically generated for those that people have not made their own sprites for yet. And they look fine. They're not that good. Some of them are kind of bad, but they're kind of fun to look at. I've mostly used ones made by people, though, and they look so sick. So, yeah, let's just hop straight into it. And also I have the link to the program that I use to create the cards. It's very easy to use. You just need text and use an image, and you just slap it on there, and it makes the card. It's really nice. It's a work in progress. Doesn't have everything, but it's still really nice. So let's hop into the first Pokemon. This one here is a combination of Luxray and Magikarp, two really iconic Pokemon, and I've decided to label it as a basic. I kind of just made up the stages because, I mean, there's no like set way to do it because Infinite Fusion, it's obviously kind of weird whether this would be a basic, stage 1, stage 2, or even something beyond that. But it has an ability, the same one that's we've seen on Luxray from Crown Zenith, so it's called Explosiveness. This Pokemon is in your hand when you're setting up to play. You may put it face down as your active Pokemon. This allows you to get it into play easier because, of course, it's just really nice. Of course, Luxray here, or Lux-carp here, is a basic, so it's not as useful as it is on Luxray, but still a fun ability. It allows you to get to your attack even easier. Your attack here is to jump, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing, but it's only one colorless, so very payable. And so this isn't like, it's kind of fun, right? Obviously, the fact that you can have a chance to do nothing with your attack feels kind of bad. But, this is just like a fun little card. Obviously, this card's kind of a joke. But I just wanted to make something. This is the first thing I thought of. I think this one's really good. I mean, obviously, it's not good, but it's funny. But moving on to a more serious card. This one here is Gardevoir Rapidash. Here is a stage 1 called Gardedash. And it has its HP of 110, fire type. I decided to give it, so weak to water. With actually 2 abilities here. So, I said it evolves from Curlidash. That's not like a real Pokemon. Ignore that. We'll just assume it's a stage 1 with an actual basic that it evolves from, because that's simpler, right? And it says, 2 abilities. I really was looking to make a support-based Pokemon, like an exclusively support-based Pokemon with 2 abilities with some versatility. So first of all, and I do like the way this one came out. First of all, its ability, Flame Arcana. Reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a basic energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon. If it's not, then just draw it pretty much. So really nice. This is a weaker version of the ability on Gardevoir from Chilling Reign. So that's pretty cool, allowing you to draw and possibly accelerate some energy. You could see some combos here with ways to stack your top deck as well, which is kind of fun. And then also it has another ability here, Boost Wave. Once during your turn, you may discard a basic energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. And then during your turn, during this turn, your Pokemon's active, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active before applying weakness and resistance. A nice buff. Actually, this is quite powerful. This Pokemon might be a bit overtuned, but I wanted to make something strong, a strong support Pokemon, and I think this one hits the mark, and it's very fun. With 2 versatile and very usable attacks that are quite good. Boost Wave isn't like broken, but it's pretty solid. And the draw potential of this is nice, but it's not insane by any means. We've seen many more powerful stage 1 draw Pokemon, but it's somewhere nice in the middle. So I really think this Gardedash is a really fun card. And then, yeah, I just like... these are all kind of on like floating random backgrounds because if you looked at the Infinite Fusion calculator, it just gives you the Pokemon in like a normal stance, which makes sense, but at the same time, it's not really pushable into the backgrounds, unfortunately. So at some point, I want to be able to make the art myself, but I am not very artistically talented. So Yeah, but this art is pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. The Infinite Fusion community is super cool. So check that out if you want to. And yeah, just like poke around, it's pretty neat. But and there are tons of other videos out there. But now I'm moving on to a really fun fusion, Aegislash, which by the way, Aegislash probably has the best fusions out of all the Pokemon. If you just mess around with it, Aegislash has so many sick fusions, including one of the Zekrom, one of my favorite Pokemon. And this one came out pretty cool. So Stage 2, I just called it Aegis here because I thought that sounded cool. And it has 190 HP, so pretty good, right? That's quite nice, especially when you look at to attacks. Although it is Dragon type, which is nice, no weakness here, 2 retreat cost, but multiple types of energy for its 1 attack. First of all, Shocking Edge, 90. And for 1 lightning, your opponent's active is now paralyzed. This is quite nice, but at the same time, it's a stage 2. And it's not a ton of damage. They will be able to escape it after a bit of time. And of course, if you KO them, that's good, but then they're not paralyzed anymore. So it's only so good. Is it usable? Yes, it's certainly usable, but it's not broken, I wouldn't say. And these are based on Sword and Shield Pokemon. So yeah, that's like tuned towards that level. Where we see big HP single price stage 2s, but not very powerful. And I'd like to make them a bit better. This one, of course, I'm trying to make a bit stronger. So paralysis for 1, it's nice, but it's not anything insane having to set up a stage 2. But it's other really neat attack here. Oh, and the paralysis, of course, reflects ideas of Zekrom. And then power outrage, again reflecting ideas of Zekrom. It for 1 lightning, 1 metal. So this is kind of awkward to power up, but it does 30 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Obviously, 190. It's not going to get one-shotted all the time, and if it's not one-shotted, it will likely be able to respond with a one-shot of its own. That is a very scary attack to have to deal with, and I think it's like super strong, super scary. A Shocking Edge might be a bit better here, but they're both pretty solid. Power Outrage is really cool. Of course, being inspired by Zekrom's Outrage attack, which has been featured on an older Zekrom, and this is really cool. But some of you may have guessed. I'll just go to the next slide. It's another Aegislash plus Zekrom. I actually have 3 more here to encompass all 4 of like the types of these, because Zekrom is Lightning Dragon, and then Aegislash is Steel Ghost, or here Metal Psychic. So I choose to add 3 more, and if you didn't know, it's fused 2 different ways. So we saw that this one is like a dragon thing with like a sword. It's like Zekrom with a sword and shield. And then this one is, this is a reference. Comment down below if you get the reference. This is so sick. I saw this. I was like messing around and I saw this. This is so dope. Yeah, I'm just so like, this thing's so cool. The Infinite Fusion calculator and like Infinite Fusion and the whole thing. And I really wanted to hop on and see what I could do with it. And man, this is so sick, right? It's a sword. As I said, Aegislash is the coolest. There are either Pokemon with swords or swords from Pokemon. This is like a sword of Zekrom. Super dope. But as I said, yeah, this is a reference to something. So if you get the reference, I'd love to see you. I did not play the game this is a reference from, but it's pretty cool. I know a bunch about it. So yeah, it has the ability Stance Change. So this is more of Aegislash comes in to play, because of course Aegislash was not really reflected too much in that other Aegis version of the Pokemon. But this is of course still a stage 2. And this is probably the one I'm most proud of because it's 4 cards, it's half the cards here. But Stance Change pretty much says you can switch it with an Aegis in your hand. You can only use 1 Stance Change per turn. You can't like switch back and forth and back and forth. I don't believe that's how it would work in the TCG, but you can like switch around. And also keep in mind, because they all have different types, they have different weaknesses and resistances. Although they're all much less tanky than the Dragon one, so it's not a huge thing of importance. But we do see 3 different ones. Also, the other Aegis, the attacking one, has a 2 retreat cost, and we see 4 different retreat costs across all of these. But first of all, I'll talk about the one in the middle here, the Aegis, the lightning type Aegis, relatively low HP, but again, of course, Stance Change, so you can turn this into the attacking Aegis or any of the other support Aegises. And its ability, I called it Carrion Speed Shock, named after Sneasler and Beware, with the attacks called Carrion, like Run or Carrion Climb. I wanted it to be Carrion Shock, but it's faster. It reduces retreat cost of if you're active, it needs to be in the bench, but it reduces the retreat cost if you're active by 3, so it's speedier than the other one. So I called it Carrion Speed Shock, and I wanted to include speed in the name of the ability. I don't really know if, like, that ability name's kind of bad, so comment down below if you have some better idea name. That's not the best thing. But as I said, I want it to be Carrion Speed, but like Carrion Speed something, so I end up with this. Not the prettiest thing, but it reduces your active retreat cost by 3. That's quite nice. And of course, you can combine it with the other Aegises, so it's kind of similar to Metagross from Vivid Voltage, but I don't know if that set's right, but there's a Metagross giving a stage 2 giving your Pokemon free retreat. Aegis is kind of like that. Of course, if it's 4 retreat cost, it won't have free retreat, but all the other Aegises it will give free retreat too, under normal circumstances. And I'll go to the defensive Aegis here, of course, with Stance Chain still. And this ability, Big Shield, we've actually seen this exact ability on Aegislash that says all your Pokemon take 30 less damage from your opponent's attacks. This is after weakness and resistance. You can't stack this ability. So as I said, we've seen this directly on Aegislash from, I believe, Rebel Clash. And that's quite nice, right? It does have the 3 retreat cost, so awkward to get out if you don't have the Lightning Aegis, but it's still pretty solid. And very defensive, right? Taking 30 less has synergy with Aegis's, the attacking Aegis's power outrage attack. Kind of, if you want to make sure you survive a hit, now you essentially have 220 HP. So you're surviving hits from many different things. And then lastly, I have this Psychic type Aegis here. Really fun. And this was the most complicated to write. A lot of these, as I said, were copied directly or very similarly to other Pokemon. Not this one. This one was very difficult to write, as well as one other that we'll see later. So this might be slightly incorrectly worded, but I think the idea will come across relatively simply. I'll just get into it. Still has Stance Change, of course, and it's Psychic type this time, 1 retreat. But when your opponent's active is damaged by your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities until the end of your opponent's next turn. I suppose it should say by attacks. I don't know. But pretty much this says, like, if you hit into your opponent's Pokemon, then they have no abilities. Of course, they can just switch out to remove this effect. But if they're paralyzed, they can't switch out as easily. So this is the idea. It synergizes with the paralysis on Aegis, so you can kind of stall out a little bit and set up as you're setting up all these stage 2s. And of course, they all have the same name. So with that in mind, you can only play one of each, or you can play you can mix and match them, but I really do believe that if this was in like an actual format, they'd see some play. You'd play some mixture of the Aegises. You probably wouldn't be running all of them, but you'd be running some of them. They're all certainly pretty solid, and I like the versatility that they provide, and I think they're very fun. I think you enjoy these as well. Hopefully, I hope you enjoy them. These are definitely the ones I'm most passionate about, especially as it's like a reference to something super cool. But moving on to the next one, this one's Jinx plus a Wailord. I've called it Jailord, with an interesting attack and ability. It's a basic. I didn't really know what to do with this one. This art, first of all, is something. But it has 4 retreat, 120 HP, big, very basic, but not huge. Psychic type here with its ability, jumbo-sized lips. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's Pokemon that has a rule box, Vs, GXs, whatever, your opponent can't take any prize cards from it. This is the same as Jinx's ability, essentially the same as Jinx's ability from Silver Tempest, slightly stronger because it's stops EXs, GXs, versus the other Jinx only stopped Vs, but same idea here. So that's nice, right? It means that if it's KO'd, it doesn't feel as good because you're not taking any prizes. In fact, it feels much worse. So Geolode here is very defensive, essentially keeping your opponents locked up from taking any prizes. And then Special Lips, I didn't know what to call these. I had some ideas, but I thought these were funny. Special Lips 90 for Psychic Colorless if this Pokemon has any special energy attached, which isn't hard to do, but not always the ideal situation. Then during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. So pretty tanky as well, needing to take 150 damage to be KO'd. I could have increased this because that amount of damage isn't necessarily huge in like current standard formats, but I figured this amount was pretty fair. Giving it a pretty tanky Pokemon that needs to be KO'd by single prizers. So that's pretty pretty like defensive, very difficult to deal with. I really like this Pokemon because it's like the ultimate defensive tank Pokemon. Because the Jinx and the Wailord are very defensive. I was considering some other options, but I really like this one. If you have any other ideas, I was thinking I could do Wailord Regigigas, Wailord Torterra was one idea I had. But I really thought this Wailord Jinx was a really fun idea with Jailord here. Big basic, but very thick, very tanky, very fun. So yeah, I hope you like this one. And lastly, one of the other ones I'm most proud of, this one is Banette and Zoroark with a really funny art, really cute. I really like it. But only one attack here and no abilities, 120 HP on a stage 1. But it says Spiteful Transformation. Choose one of your bench Pokemon's attacks and use that Pokemon's attack is this attack. This can copy V-Stars and GX attacks. Usually there are limitations, but this one does not have that limitation. But then that Pokemon is now knocked out. So obviously that's bad, right? It's KO'd. And that's bad. If you want to say copy Dialga V-Stars, V-Star power, you just gave your opponent 2 prizes, but that could let you just win the game. So the idea is that you do some really crazy combos. Of course, this is inspired by Zoroark's ability to copy your Pokemon, as well as Banette's ability to attack that damages itself. So it's like sacrificing your own Pokemon, the ultimate dark Pokemon. It's a very cute looking one, but it's certainly very scary and deceptive, just like Zoroark. So, yeah, that is like crazy. I think this idea is like really fun. Is it good? I have no idea, but I think it's just really a really cool idea that I think is actually could be explored. Obviously, it's not a real card, but if this was a real card, this would be super awesome. Honestly, I hope Pokemon like adopts Pokemon Infinite Fusion and like makes it a real thing. That'd be super cool. I know so many people would love that. I hope they don't like get mad at people for doing Infinite Fusion because it's so awesome, and I'm really happy that I was able to make these cards, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Also, I believe this is released on Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day, yay! Yeah, these Pokemon cards are so awesome, and more importantly, I'm gassing myself up here, but like. The Infinite Fusion creators are super cool, and the custom card creation tool is super awesome as well. This process was relatively easy for me because of those. So, yeah, check those tools out in the description. They're super awesome, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you want to see anything else similar to this by me, or any other like ideas. But I hope you enjoyed. As always, I'm excited to see you in the next video. See ya.